Hello, this is Trisha Bahnsen, and I'm submitting Milestone 3, or my final project, for the cybersecurity terms, spring term final project. And so, just to recap, I went with Linux Mint after for my virtual machine because one, because of a space issue with my laptop and the best functionality as far as what I was able to allocate to the system. um, and then mostly it came down to the system itself. I am not the most technically savvy when it comes to coding and things like that, and I felt like Linux Mint really made it easy for especially novice users like myself to use the system and really get a feel for what Linux is without being so technically complicated like some of the other systems for people that really know what they're doing. The Linux Mint community has been really great when I've had questions. Um, they have message boards. They're really helpful with newer folks that are either switching from Windows, that are still really technically savvy, all the way down to folks like myself that aren't as technically savvy. Um, I've had questions that they've been able to answer really well. So I was really pleased with choosing Linux Mint, especially for a first time user to Linux and somebody that has a little bit more trouble like remembering all the coding and things like that on the more technical side of things. So, what I'll do is just kind of recap the steps we've done so far, or that I've submitted so far, and then go over the last implementation with the software security management. So, the first thing I did was create my accounts. I have my administrator account where I have control of everything. And then I made an account for my boyfriend, who's also in school at Austin P, and he's doing cybersecurity. So I thought there might be some times where he needs to use my laptop or needs to be able to save files in an alternate location, or if we're traveling and I have my laptop and he doesn't, or something. But he doesn't have the ability to make any changes, but he does have a drive where he can save things and be able to use the system and all of that, and it's save. And I say that because I also made a guest session, and I really liked this because when we have company, sometimes they want to use the computer, check their email, whatever the case may be, but having access to all of your own files and stuff seemed it always makes me a little uneasy. So I love that Linux Mint allows this guest session. So it says all data created during this guest session will be deleted when you log out. Settings will be reset to defaults, and then please save your files on an external device. And that's because this is just a one-time temporary session that, you know, um, is great for them to be able to use. That way I can't see their information afterwards if they forget to log out or whatever the case may be, but they don't need to save anything on my computer permanently. They can do anything they need to do with banking or whatever and be secure, but then it's just going to end the session when they're done. So I really liked having this for guests. Um, and so what I will do is switch user and we'll log in under myself. So that was the first thing. That was the account section. Okay. And then let's see. First thing I'm going to do is turn that on. Okay, so the next section was storage, and what I opted for with this was I have a lot of things saved on external, like hard drives and USB sticks and stuff. I come from an era where I'm used to actual film strip and things like that, but I don't like the idea of having certain things saved in just one location. So what I opted for my system here is VUP cloud storage. And what I really like about this is um, first of all, it's end-to-end encryption on the cloud storage, so I feel like the data is very safe. I actually can set it up to do automated synchronizations. I don't have it doing that because I don't really have a lot saved on this at the moment, but you can set it up that way. So you do get 5 GB for free, and then you actually can add storage space. So that would be a little more of a cost, but depending on how much I need, there's a lot more that you can purchase. And then this application, it's on my computer, but because it's the cloud storage, even though it's Linux Mint, it's available across all platforms. So I liked the accessibility of it. I liked the fact that I could access it anywhere. I like the fact that I could add the storage as I need it, because sometimes I need a lot more, and sometimes I go through and I clean up a bunch of things and I don't need as much. So I like the fact that I could kind of adjust as needed, but then also the safety factor with it being end-to-end encrypted. And then the next part was automation. And so what I did there was to keep the system up to date I'm really bad about doing updates, like especially my Windows updates and the update that comes up on the TV. I just always click past it. So what I really liked about Linux Mint and their update manager is that they have functionality for automation. And so I went ahead. This is taking a little bit longer than it usually does. I went ahead and set up automation for the updates that way, and our system is up to date, so we're good there. But in the preferences, there's actually a section for automation where I have the updates applying automatically, so it doesn't rely on me to go in and manually start those updates or be responsible for remembering to do that, or clicking right past it like I do with the TV updates. It automatically just does it. So I felt like that was the best option for me, who, I'm typically not the best at staying on top of those things. And then from from software security, kind of on the same vein as keeping that updated, I've also gone ahead, two different things I've done here. So in my browser extension, to keep that aspect safe, so this is Firefox. I added on an extension. Thought I clicked it. There we go. I added on an extension called uBlock. Okay. Extensions. Let's see. I thought it was right there on the list. And then here's one of our other automations. So I like this one because sometimes I'll be sitting here working on things and I'll need to stand up and I forget, and then it's like 2 hours have passed and I've forgotten to stand up and like take a lap around the room or get some fresh air or whatever the case may be. So this is just going to count down and say, hey, you need to stop and take 30 seconds and get some air and stuff like that. So we'll let this just finish because I just find myself not taking breaks as I need them. But anyway, so I added uBlock to my extension on Firefox, and so that automatically is going to block ads. It's enabled right here. Let's see if I can turn this off. It's going to block ads and malware trackers. I think it mentioned coin miners and pop-ups, but this is how I really wanted to keep my browser safe. And so that's the extension I went with on Firefox, but then I've also downloaded Synaptic Package Manager. And so what I liked about this was, in addition to the update manager for Linux, this is also checking packages And it also gives me a lot of manual control over making sure that the packages are up to date. Um, I can do custom filters, I can do by specific packages, and I can have it mark every single one that is ready for an upgrade. And that's just another way, I think, for me to keep everything safe from a software security standpoint. So, this has been a fun project. I hope that I've ticked all the boxes here. And thank you very much for watching my presentation. And yeah, that's it. This is it. Thank you.